Okay, what I've done here is I started to thread this in, and I just used an Allen key and the pressure from my hand, and I threaded it down once so it was flush. It went in like peanut butter, very easy. And now I'm going to take a little Loctite 241 because it's what I have. You could use the permanent stuff if you want to, because this is going to be permanent. So I'm not going to take it out all the way. I'm just going to, I extracted it a bit. Now I'm just going to screw it in with that there, and it shouldn't come out. So I'll just get that a little tightening here. I didn't finish my, you hold the camera for me? Thank you. Didn't finish threading it down all the way before, because I wanted to finish the last little bit of it with lots of Loctite on it. So get a paper towel so you can see what I'm doing. It's just like a little blue dot now. And I'm going to bring it down all the way to flush, just to cork that hole. That's getting pretty tight. That's about as tight as I dare turn it, because I don't want to strip out the Allen key. But that is very tight, it's flush, and maybe just a millimeter above flush, but that's perfect. The hole is nice and sealed, and that's all you have to do to fill these holes. And I have the other hole over here, and I'm going to do the same thing with that. So I'll get my other little pin, which fell over here. Oops, run away from me. And see, that's all they are. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. Okay, as for the low oil sensor hole in the back of the engine, this one right here, where I removed the oil sensor, I've decided to not use a bolt and a washer on the inside. It just seems kind of haphazard that someday it might vibrate loose and go into the engine. So what I decided to do was use a plug like the rest of the plugs on the engine. And I went off to the hardware store and I found this, and I decided it was a better idea. So what this is a 1/2 inch plug, 13 thread course, and you want to buy the same one. It has a little Allen key in the front. It's just standard plug. Now it's too big for this hole to just strip in, so what I did, the appropriate size drill bit for that plug is a 27/64, and I'm going to drill out that hole just a little bit more so that I can easily thread in that plug, and that should take care of it. Okay, so here's the hole for the low oil sensor, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill that out with a 27/64 of an inch drill bit. And the reason I'm using that particular bit size is I have a 1/2 inch 13 thread plug, and I'm going to put that plug in there, but it has to be a little bit bigger first, and then I have to tap it out and make some threads. So I'm not going to go all the way through with the threads because I don't want it to be able to go into the engine if it vibrates in that direction. So here I bought this little kit at the hardware made by Irwin, and it includes the bit and the matching tap. So here we go. I'm going to get started on that, and I'll come back to the video. Okay, so I ran the tap through the hole, and that's the end result. We have threads in there, and I'm going to take the 1/2 inch plug that's been threaded, and I'm going to screw it into the hole. Just get it started, and I'm going to put some Loctite on it, lots of Loctite. And remember, I didn't go all the way through with the tapping so that it would have something to bottom against, because I don't want it to go all the way through into the inside of the engine, and I don't want the possibility of that in the future, but it'll go nice and flush. Okay, so I've got my Loctite. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on there, actually quite a bit of Loctite, and I'm just going to run it in all the way. I'll clean up the excess after. And now I'm going to take my ratchet and just put that in there snug so that we have a good seal inside of the engine. That's pretty tight. Once the Loctite sets up, it's not going anywhere. I'll just clean up the excess. You'd never know there was an oil sensor there. What's that hole? Who knows? Just leave it closed forever. That's what you tell people. But the oil sensor sat there, and then the oil sensor amplifier was up there. We don't need any of that stuff anymore. So we managed to lighten up the engine and get rid of this stuff here. So there, one last look around inside. There's the plug I just put in, the 1/2-inch plug. And then there's our smaller plugs up in the top. And everything's clean. I used brake parts cleaner to flush out any of the particles, so there's nothing left in there. It's pretty dry. I'm not going to worry about that though. I'll put some oil in it and turn it over lightly. You can put some oil in before if you want, just some spray some oil around with an oil can. But I'm going to keep it nice and clean for assembly. So now that's it. We don't have any oil level sensor. We don't have the idler pulley in the back, and the engine is quite clean and stripped down, ready for racing. So I'm going to put the side cover back on with the old gasket. The old gasket came off and it's in perfect condition. So I'm going to pop this back on and seal the case, and we're good to go. Okay, so I'm ready to put the side cover back on. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil around here. I've already dumped some here, so I'll just do it with my finger. And I dumped some oil on here too, just a little bit. See, just enough to pre-lubricate it. I also set the gasket back on here, and it's over the dowel pins. I reinstalled these, and I'm very carefully going to sit the cover over the top. And I also wanted to put a little bit of oil in here because these don't really lubricate too well. So I'm going to lower this over the top and get it into position. Hard to do with one hand. I'm looking through the bolt holes there. Hang on, I'll just give you 1 second. Okay, I sat it over the dowels, but it's not tight down all the way, and I don't want it tight all the way. And the reason being is the gasket is not perfectly aligned, so I don't want to squeeze it. So I'm going to take my bolt and I'm going to just kind of stick it through the gasket and start the thread just a little bit, just to get everything lined up before I push it all the way down, and make sure that that gasket goes in there nice and neatly. Let's see, it's through the bolt, and I'll do that for each one and make sure that it's all lined up.